양지 진보 소도 님이 영종의 모놈 진보는 바크르 다른 산도 절마도 돈바 되지 않라 기시험사를 내처로 저기 장금사 저거 되지 신로 일라 지금 편소자랑 소란데 공주 도반포를 신지로
The unsurpassed, profound, and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in billions of aeons. I now see it, hear, receive, and uphold it. I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning, to liberate all sentient beings, thus generate the supreme bodhicitta. Now let us begin the Surangama Sutra again. Surangama Sutra. Let us begin the class on the Surangama Sutra. The Surangama Sutra is a teaching that is in between the second turning and the third turning of the Dharma wheel. With the leaning to the second turning. Usually, in the first turning of the Dharma wheel, the Buddha gives the teachings on the 5 aggregates, 6 entrances, the 12 ayatanas, and 18 dhatus, and the Buddha talked about the existence of them. Especially in the teachings such as Abhidharma, there is no description of the nature of them being empty. But in the Surangama Sutra, over here, the Buddha talks about the nature of them being false. Though there's the appearance of them, but there is no solid existence of them. In the previous classes, we've already talked about the 10 ayatanas out of the 12. We talked about the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and the body, as well as the perceiving objects. In pairs, we've already finished talking about the 10 out of the 12. Today, we will cover the last pair, which is the Dharma, or the mind and Dharma. Compared to the previous 10, this one is a little bit difficult, a little bit. By now, we know that the eyes, nose, ears, tongue, and the body is called the faculty that has form. And the perceiving objects are also associated to each of them. Also, each of those objects, the perceiving objects, all are considered as the ones with form as well, according to the Sabbativada school. Now, in terms of Dharma, the subject that perceives the Dharma is the mind. As we've talked about that before, the faculty of mind perceives the object that is Dharma, all kinds of Dharmas. So in terms of the dust, the Dharma dust, there is no solid existence of it, unlike the form, sound, touch, and smell and taste. So it is perceived through the mind in a way that is just like an image. And the image has all kinds of leanings, such as good and bad. Therefore, we call this as the Dharma dust. Now let's look at the last two, the last pair. The Buddha says, Ananda, your mind is always conditioned by the 3 qualities, good, bad, and indeterminate, which produce patterns of dharmas. In your mind faculty, in your consciousness, there are the conditions that has the 3 qualities. The good, the bad, and the indeterminate. With those three conditions, there would be the production of patterns of Dharma. Sometimes you can call it as the defiling objects, the dust, the Dharmas. And then there are the three types, the good, the bad, and the indeterminate. The Dharma over here doesn't mean the Buddha Dharma. It is rather pointing to the defiling objects, the dust. Just as how to our eye faculty, there is the form, the defiling objects that can be perceived by the eye faculty. The good and the bad and the indeterminate can also exist in such a way. So it is called the three types of defiling objects, defiling Dharma objects, or the Dharma dust. That's a direct translation from the Chinese translation. Earlier, I was looking for the entering the gate, the gateway to knowledge. And I was looking for the explanation of the defiling objects of the Dharmas. What is the explanation of that? Do you remember it? I think it would be good for the Khenpos and Khemos to sit a little bit closer. I didn't say that the Khenpos and Khemos shouldn't come to listen to the class in the Shrine Hall. Now that we don't have any Khenpos and Khemos sitting at the front, other than our chant leader, everyone else is sitting at the back, or maybe they're not even here because they don't want to sit at the back of the shrine hall. Maybe they're too used to sitting on the Dharma throne and doesn't want to sit at the back anymore. I've taught Abhidharma for 20 years. I taught on the Abhidharma 20 years ago, and I only studied for 1 or 2 times, so it isn't my specialty, unlike Madhyamika or Ati, which is definitely more familiar to me. So over here, what is the defiling objects of Dharma? What's the explanation in Abhidharma? Now all of our senior practitioners can remember those. Nobody that is currently studying Abhidharma is sitting around here today? Well, we would have to further investigate it later. the conditioned and unconditioned.
那这样的话，那个柱子的这个颜色也是属于无为法当中了，声也是有为法当中。
According to what you're saying, then the color of the pillar would also belong to the unconditioned, and the sound is also unconditioned.
行吧，再看看。
All right, you have to look into it later. Let's continue with the sutra. Are these dharmas produced by the mind, or do they have a special place apart from the mind?
就是既然是这个法是这样的话呢，那这个法成呢，就是到底是你的心产生的呢？
The Buddha started asking, are these dharmas produced by the mind, or do they have any special places apart from the mind, or are there other locations? All of these defiling objects, where is it produced? Is it produced from the mind, or by the mind, or is it that they locate at a very special place apart from the mind? Ananda, if they were the mind, if all the good and bad and indeterminate, the dharmas would not be its defiling objects. The Buddha over here says that, Ananda, if you were to say that this is your mind, all the good, bad, and indeterminate are products of your mind, then all the dharma are definitely not defiling objects anymore, because they are the production of mind. Whatever defiling objects you're talking about, they're no longer defiling objects anymore. In this way, the defiling objects, since it's not an object, since they would not be conditions of the mind, how could you say that they had a location? When we say that the sound is the condition for the ears and the Dharma as the conditions for the mind. But if you were to say that the mind actually produced the defiling object that is the Dharma, then it is no longer the object. It is no longer the condition of the mind anymore. The Dharma as the object is definitely there. But if you were to say that mind produced Dharma, then that is wrong, because then the Dharma wouldn't be the object, wouldn't be the object that to be perceived. Suppose they were to have a special place apart from the mind, then would the Dharma themselves be able to know? Now here's the question. If you were to say that the Dharma is somewhere else, it is outside of the mind, it is at another location, then you're to say that there is an entity, there is an existent characteristic to the Dharma. Then let me ask you, does this self-charactered Dharma has the sense of knowing or not? Because if you were to say that there is the defiling object that is Dharma that is existent, let me ask you, does it have the sense of knowing or not? If they were to have a sense of knowing, they would be called a mind. If they were something other than you, they would be something else, someone else's mind, since they're not defiling objects. Well, if you were to say that, yes, it does have a sense of knowing. If it has a sense of knowing, it is mind, it is consciousness. You're saying that there is an existent Dharma that is on the outside, and it is not defiling object, and it has the sense of knowing, and it is different than your knowing, but it is also your object. In this way, you're to say that other than your mind consciousness, there is something that is not defiling object. And that is equivalent to say that there is someone else's mind stream on the outside. If they were the same as you, they would be your own mind. But how could your own mind stand apart from you? Since you've already said that your object is located at a different place, and it's a different type of existence, and it has its own sense of knowing, and it has consciousness, which is equivalent to say that it is the mind stream of someone else or some other mind stream. So your mind is your mind. It cannot be transformed to other people's mind. This way, how could you say that there is another mind stream that's outside of you that is another mind stream? Our mind is the subject, and then the object, whatever they are, the good or the bad or the indeterminate, those are the defiled objects. If you were to say that this Dharma, this defiled object, has a different location to exist, and it has a sense of knowing, so your mind is one mind, your object, the object of your mind, which is the defiling object of Dharma, becomes another mind. In this way, it still has something connected to you, but the connection between you and the defiling objects becomes two different minds. That is absurd. It is to say that when I visualize with my mind of the Buddha statue, so the mind that I visualize is one mind, and then the Buddha statue that I visualize becomes another mind, which becomes the two different minds. That is definitely wrong. So that's the first question that's being addressed. Now let's look at the second one. Suppose that they were to have no sense of knowing. The first question is to say that it does, the defiling object that is the Dharma that has a sense of knowing. Now the second one is suppose they were to have no sense of knowing, yet these defiling objects are not form, sound, smells, or tastes. They are neither cold nor warmth, nor the characteristic of emptiness. Where would they be located? This is to say that the defiling objects to your mind, the defiling objects to your mind is definitely not form, not sound, not hearing, not smelling, not taste, and not touching. It is not cold and not warmth, not they are neither connected nor apart. Because over here the cold nor warmth and together and apart means it's part of the sensation, touch, nor the characteristic of emptiness. Without the sense of knowing, then it would be considered as the objects of the form, sound, smell, taste, and touch, and emptiness. Other than that, there are no other dharmas around that's existent. In this way, can you still locate your defiling object that is the dharmas? Where is the object of the dharmas? We have established that they are represented in neither form nor emptiness, nor is likely that they exist somewhere in the human realm beyond emptiness. All the way between form to emptiness, there is no way to find it. You won't be able to locate it. You won't be able to describe it by saying that this is in the shape of a square, of a circle, or it's beautiful, it sounds melodious, or it smells or tastes good. There is no third type of existence other than form or emptiness. There is nothing that would be categorized as the third type other than form or emptiness. All the way between the form to emptiness, there is nothing that can be found that is called the dharmas. Now let me ask you, can you point to something that is neither form nor emptiness? There is something that is called the dharmas. Can you point to it? There is no way that you will be able to do so. Indeed, it is, as we said before, we are not able to find it through the seeing, and we're not able to obtain the hearing, nor the smelling, nor the taste, or the touch. There is no way to obtain it. Therefore, the dharmas also, it is not attainable through our mind, through the consciousness. There is no way to obtain it. It's quite easy, isn't it, to come to the conclusion of everything's empty. I remember that Vajrayana composed a commentary on the Heart Sutra, very brief but concise. Over here, we are also talking about that there is no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body. This is quite easy to understand that they are simply empty. In the conventional sense, however, they do manifest. But in the absolute sense, there is nothing that is obtained. There is nothing that is truly existent. So the Buddha said that the mind could not be aware of them. Whence then would they arise?
它另外有一种这个所缘嘛，就除了心以外，另外有一种所缘，但是呢，这个不是心的这个所缘啊，就是心非所缘啊，就如果不是心的所缘的话，那你
If you were to say that it is not the object, not the condition for the mind to perceive, whence then would they arise? Other than mind, there is no dharmas.
那下面呢就是。
And then the Buddha made a short conclusion saying that therefore you should know that neither dharmas nor the mind has a location. There is no place for neither of them. There is no place for there is no location for the mind, for the consciousness. We've already talked about that. Nor is there a location for the dharmas. And so the places of mind and dharmas are empty and false. Their origin is not in causes and conditions, nor do their natures arise spontaneously. It is not to say that they're not existent in conventional truth. In fact, in conventional truth, there is the manifestation, but in the absolute truth, there is no true existence to them. according to the Diamond Sutra, it says that if the mind has a place to abide, it is not abiding. If the mind has a place to abide, in fact, it is not abiding. The existence and non-existence, the abiding and not abiding, they are exactly the same. It sounds contradicting, isn't it? But it is not. According to Mipa Rinpoche, speaking of certainty, it says that the manifestation and emptiness is not different. They appear to be contradictive, but they are not. So over here it says that their origin is not in causes and conditions, nor do their natures arise spontaneously. It is simply the wondrous manifestation of the Buddha nature. Before we make the observation, they manifest so vividly. But after detailed observation, we would be able to understand they're simply empty. With the direct pointing out from the Guru during your empowerments or during the direct pointing out instructions, the teacher, the Guru, would give you instructions on such as whatever thoughts you have right now, let it be vicious, let it be good. They are simply just like white and black clouds. If you look at the nature of it right now, right at that moment, in fact, all the good and bad would simply disappear in the nature its nature. Just like how clouds would disperse in the emptiness, in the space. On one hand, yes, all of those illusions of the form, sound, and taste, and smell, and touch, they manifest with great vicissitude. Yesterday, someone said that he eats 4 kilos of ghee in about over 1 month. And I calculated a bit at home today, and I thought, wow, that's a lot to eat. This person probably takes too much of oil every day. If one were to finish the 4 kilos of ghee within 45 days, that means he's going to eat 100 grams of ghee every day. That is way too much. Because if you were to eat 25 grams, that is more of a reasonable intake of ghee. If you eat too much, that is going to burden your body. He's not here today. Maybe he ate too much ghee. Since he's not here, then I'm going to move on. How could he finish eating 4 kilos of ghee in 45 days? Anyways, let's not talk about ghee. I will not talk about that again. Let's now look at the 18 dhatus, the 18 realms. Moreover, Ananda, why do I say that the 18 realms are basically the wonderful nature of the true suchness, the treasury of the thus come one? Again, the wonderful nature of the true suchness, the Buddha nature. Dhatus are the realms. The 6 roots, 6 objects, 6 consciousness are called the realms, dhatus. Dhatu, according to Abhidharma, it has the connotation of seed. That is from the Sanskrit point of view. And some of the great masters from China mainland had explained that the Dhatu also has the connotation of
它是
realms.
一个类别的，就是它有一定的界限吧，比如说欲界，然后
For
有欲
example,
望的这些众
we
生
would talk
的
about
就
the
一个
desire
一个界道
realm,
然后色界就是
because all the
光明
sentient
色的
beings
这个一
share the
无色
same
界没有
quality
色
would
的
be in
这
the
个一
same
界
realm,
就
or
界
the
呢就是也有
form
这个意思
realm
还有那
and
个
formless realm.
我们不是
So
讲那
Dhatu
个报
also
修人
has
对
that
报修人前面呢
particular
是讲这个界
connotation
在
as well.
这个界的时
In
候呢，就是
the
比如说石头有石头
Uttara
的
Tantra
界，金子有
Shastra,
金子的界，
there are
银子有银子的
different
界，
different
它有
explanations
它有一种
on
界性
dhatus as well. For
界性
example,
它这个
when
界呢
there's the
好像内
explanation
容
of
就比较
dhatus,
比较多的，就是它也有
there's the
就是
explanation
界
on
限
the
的意思，
dhatu
也
of the
有
rocks,
这
the
个种子
dhatu
的意
of
思，也
the
有这
gold,
个
of
界
the
性的它
silver,
自己的这个固定的一种本质，就像我们每个
which
众
also
生呢，就是
means
如来藏，如
the
来藏的话呢，
specific
就是这是一种
characteristics
界
to
性
them.
嘛，就是
There's
水
the
报性人的这个
specific
界呢，这个也
qualities
是
to
这个
them.
很这个重
So
重要
each
的
of the
这个
sentient
应该
beings,
清楚的。
so all the
那这
sentient
样的
beings
话呢，就是
share
这个界
Buddha
呢，这
nature,
个到底
and
是
that
什么
is the
呢？
type of
实际上
dhatu
是
as
有
well.
18界，但是
So
18界当中的
over
话
here
呢，
it says
这
that there
这
are
里是
18
主要
dhatus,
是
out
60
of which
因为
mainly
60
in the
如果能破
Surangama
的话呢，
Sutra,
就是
we
那
are going to
这个
refute
更
the
和
sixth
近的话呢，就
consciousness.
是很容
Because
易。
if we
比如说
can
是
refute
我们这
the
个
true
中间就是有一
existence
个
of
非
the
常
sixth
重要的墙
consciousness,
的话呢，两边
then
的
it is
墙呢，
very
就是
easy
靠
to
着这个中
refute
间的墙。
the
如果我们
faculty
中间
and
的墙到
the
了的话呢，就是在
objects.
两边的墙呢，就是没有什么依靠处的。
Because
所
if
以
you were
它这
to
里的话呢，就是
break
表面
the
上看呢，这
wall
样的
in the
是18界，
center,
但
the
实际上的话呢，
weight-bearing
60
wall in
就
the
是从
center,
这
then
个
it's easy
这
to
个厌世到这个
break the
一
other
世
two
之间呢，
walls
这个注
to
重这
support
种
it.
破斥的话呢，就是那么这个嗔和根呢，
So the
就是随
Buddha
着
over
它这
here
个
mainly
破掉
refuted the
就是属
sixth
于这个
consciousness, because
放
after
生呢，这个
refuting
大
the
家应
sixth
该明白。
consciousness,
那佛陀
the
告
eye
诉阿
consciousness,
难，
mind
就如
consciousness, and so on,
入
then
受
the
名言色
object and the
言
root
色
would
为
be
愿，胜于
easily
厌世。
refuted.
佛陀就
Ananda,
告诉阿
the
难，
Buddha
你看阿难
over
一直
here
不说话，
says,
就是也许他
as you
在
understand
看
it,
好像
the
后面
eyes
他比较
and
活跃，
form
就是
created the
他中间就
conditions
是在佛陀
that
讲嘛，
produce
就
the
是
eye
一直好就
consciousness.
吃瓜子不说话。然后那个就是佛陀说是阿难，你应该是这
The
个
Buddha
明白
said that
的，就是
Ananda,
你
as
的
you
这个
understand
厌
it.
和这个色呢，就是为缘，就是
So
然后
since
身体
you
这个
already
厌是
understand
吧
the principle,
就是因为
the
这个
eyes
厌
and
呢，就
form
是跟
created
这
by the
个色呢，就是
conditions
近。
that
那么依靠这两
produce
个
the
因
eye
缘的话呢，就是
consciousness
能产生
with
这个厌
the
识，这个
condition
是肯
of
定是这个阿
the
难也是承认的，是对
faculty
的。
that is the
那
eye,
佛陀
and
就告
then
诉
the
问他，就是
object
此是
which
为
is the
佛，
form.
因
With these two
厌
causes
所
and
生呢，就
conditions,
是
then there
以
is
厌
the
所生，
eye
以眼为
consciousness.
界。
Ananda
还有以
also
色所生，
recognized
以
that
色为界呢，
as
他就
correct.
问
And then the
他，就
Buddha
是说是
continued to
那
ask
你这
him,
样的这个厌识呢，是不是依靠这个眼根而
is the
产生？
consciousness
然后呢，
produced
就是
because
就
of the
变成这个
eye
厌界
such
就是这
that
个
the
依靠
eyes
眼根而
are
产生的
its
话呢，就
realm?
是它就
Or
肯定
is
是
it
依靠眼根
produced
而产
because
生
of
的话，
form
变成
such
厌
that
界
the
嘛，
form
就是我们
is
一般
its
是比
realm?
如说是混血儿的话呢，
The
就
eye
依靠什么
consciousness
这个
definitely has
西方
to
人
rely
父
on
亲
the
是西
eye
方人而产
faculty
生
so
的话
that it
那
will
可能
become
是
the
就是西方人的
eye
这种血
dhatu.
统就已经有了。然后
It
依
is
靠这
just
个
like
母亲是
whenever
如果
we
东
look
方
at
人的
those
话呢，也
mixed race
东方人
babies,
的这种
if
这个
the
血
father
统
is
就是
from
也
the West and
也有
then
他这样的
the
意
mother
愿
is
嘛。
from the
那
East,
这样的
then
话呢，你
with
的
the
厌识呢，就是是不
mix
是
of
因
the
为厌而
two
产生呢，就是变成
different
了
race,
眼界；
the
因为
baby
色而
would
产生的话呢，就是
carry
也
both
变
of
成
them.
了这个
So
色界就是有这个色的
the
这种
Buddha
界
said that
性，
is your
是
eye
这样的。
consciousness
然后就阿
produced
难呢，就
because
是
of the
还是
eye,
不
such
说
that
话，
the
就是然
eyes
后
are
佛
its
陀就
realm,
是说
or
阿难
is
呐，
it because
你
of the
还
form,
是
such that
说
the
一点
form is the
吧，不要
realm?
这样的。你是不是这
At
几
this
天有
point,
点不
Ananda is
开
still
心
not talking.
呢？还是什么呢？那不说的话呢，我就开始继续
Since
说啊，
Ananda is
罗
not talking,
尼
then the Buddha continued to say that
厌憎
Ananda,
即
if it
我
were
色
produced
空
because
无
of the
可分
eyes,
别。
then
如果
in the
阿难你
absence
就
of
不说话，我
emptiness
就开
and
始分
form,
析呀，
it
分
would
析什么
not
呢？
be able to
如果
make
你认为呢，就
distinctions.
是这个
if you were to think that the I consciousness rely on the I faculty, if it is produced from the I faculty, I consciousness is a type of consciousness. If it was a product simply by relying on I faculty, then there is no form. It is simply empty.
色和空都没有的话呢，就是无可分辨呐。就是那如果色和空没有的话呢，就是那这个外境
then there is no form and no emptiness. Then there is no distinctions anymore. There is no colors and there is no forms that can be seen, the mountains and the green leaves and the flowers and whatever things. You would not be able to distinguish any of them because those are the distinctions can be made by the eye faculty. But on the eye faculty, there are no forms and colors and emptiness on it. Therefore, if it was simply just rely on the eye faculty, then your whole world would just be a blur. There is no way for you to distinguish it. And the Buddha continued to say that, and so even if you had consciousness, what use would it be? Though you have eye consciousness, though this consciousness that you say is reliant on your faculty, but what's the function of it? What's the use of it? It is completely useless. Moreover, your seeing is neither green, yellow, red, nor white. There is virtually nothing in which it is presented. Therefore, what is the realm established from? If your consciousness is based on your eye faculty, then you should not be able to see any of those colors or any shapes of square, triangle, nor of up and down, none of those. Because on your eye faculty, there is no color, there is no blue, red, and white, and so on. How could you establish the realm? What is the realm established from? All the varieties and the colorful manifestations of this world is simply non-existent for you if it is completely built up on your eye faculty. Therefore, the eye consciousness cannot be a product from the eye faculty. Now, the second possibility, suppose it were produced because of form. In emptiness, then there was no form. Your consciousness would be extinguished. Then why is it that the consciousness knows the nature of emptiness? If you were to say that eye consciousness is a product from form, then when you look at the space, which is completely empty, there is no form, there is no color. At that moment, your consciousness should be extinct. There should be no consciousness at all, because you're saying that your eye consciousness is simply reliant on the form. By the same logic, you will be able to understand that when you see emptiness, there is no way for you to see form. Then everything would be empty. Then how would you know that there is something that is called emptiness? Or vice versa, if you see form, then you won't know there is something that is called emptiness. If you see emptiness, there's no way that you can see other forms. Previously, we also discussed the nature of space or nature of emptiness. It is that there is nothing that's right in front of you that is called seeing emptiness or seeing space. It is similar to say that if there is a lack of light, then it is seeing darkness. Suppose a form changes, you're also conscious of the changing appearances, but your eye consciousness does not change. Where is the boundary established? If you were to say that there is a form changes, previously we talked about if the eye consciousness is reliant on the production of the form, if the production of the eye consciousness is based on the form, then at the time of the production of the form, one will have the fault of not seeing emptiness. But now you said that you already see form, and then later you see emptiness, the form has already changed. Since the form has already changed, there are two explanations. One is that the form, whatever colors and shapes that changes, your consciousness, your grasping towards holding on this form would also change. But your consciousness cannot change. Why not? It is because your eye consciousness is derived from form. So if the form has already changed and your eye consciousness is produced, in this way your consciousness cannot change. So how could you establish the boundary of the change of your eye dhatu, of your eye consciousness? If you cannot establish it, then you would have to understand that this is faulty. If the eye consciousness were to change when form changed, then there would be no appearance of a realm. Previously, you said that the eye consciousness comes from the form. Then when form changes, the consciousness should also change the colors and shapes along with the form. Then there is no eye dhatu anymore. Why is that? It is because there is no existent characteristic of the eye dhatu anymore. Because as long as there is a change, there is no existent character to it. Your consciousness should not change with the object. If it is an independently existent entity, if it were not to change, it would be constant. And given that it was produced from form, it should have no conscious knowledge of where there was emptiness. Now, if you were to say that the eye consciousness is not changing and it is produced from form, in this way, your eye consciousness should not know the existence of emptiness because it is not changing. Your eye consciousness, though being produced from form, it should not know that there is space, since space is contradictory to form. So we know that it is not reasonable to say that it is the eye consciousness is a production from the eye faculty or from the form. Suppose the eye consciousness arose from both, from the eyes and from form. This is very similar to most of people's consideration nowadays. People would say that by the collaboration with the focal condition and the dominating condition, then there is the production of the eye consciousness. But that is not correct either. Why is that? If they were united, there would still be a point of separation. If they were separate, there would still be a point of contact. Hence, the substance and nature would be chaotic and disorderly. How could a realm be set up in such a way? Over here, the Buddha said that if one were to say that it needs the two conditions, the eye faculty and the forms all together, and then there is the production of the eye consciousness. But this common consideration that we share nowadays is incorrect as well, because there are the faults that's associated to it. What are the faults? That is, if they were united, there would still be a point of separation. If they were separate, there would still be a point of contact. What does that mean? It means that
然后这个是眼根。那么这两个呢，就是我的这个厌识呢，就是在这
My
个上面
eye faculty and the
那他们两个
object,
升起来的话
which
呢
is the
我的
form,
这个厌识呢，就是是不是跟
gives
他
the
们两个合
production
如果
of
合的话呢，就是跟
eye
这边的这
consciousness,
个
then are
合
they
这边的
separate
一个
or
合
are
就是
they
两边的
united?
有一个合。如果有两边的合的话呢，那这边是这个尘的部分，就是
Now,
色
if
法的
they
部
were
分这边
united
是眼根的部分，是这个根的部分。那我的这个
on
厌识呢，
this
就是
side,
跟
for
这两个
example,
这个
there's
合在
this is the part of the eye faculty, and that is the faculty's part. On my other fist, that is
也不太好看，还是全
that is the form
那
part, that
那
is
这
the
样的话呢
object.
我的这个严格呢，就是已经变成量法，就更的，就是更有这个关系的一部分，还有尘有关系的一部分。那这样的话呢，如果合的话呢，就是中间就是那么这更的一部分和这个尘的一部分的话呢，两个之间呢
In
就是
this
有隔
way,
阂
the eye
的
faculty
有
becomes
有
the
隔离的
two
就是这
things.
这样的话呢
One that
好
has
像那个
something to do with
比如
faculty,
说
and the other
长生
part
自
has
相
something
啊
to
这
do
个
with
还有那个欧里大
object.
师他们都
In
说
this
是
way,
根
once
是
they
有
are
这个直觉
connected,
的就是部分
the
的然后
faculty
尘呢就
part
是这个没有
also
知觉的
include the
没
form
有知觉
part,
的所以一个是
the
有知觉
object
一个是
part.
没有知觉是完全是不
So
符合的
in
就是
between
这
the
样
two,
说
there
的
is still
实际上按照我们这个小乘的观
a
点的话呢其实
separation
根
between
呢
them.
也
According
是
to
无尽法
Master
就是
Changshui
它没
and
有
Master
这个知觉
Oyi, they
尘也是
talked
没有
about
知觉
how
然
the
后这个
root
事呢
also, the faculty
就
also
跟他们就是合
has
不合
the
的话呢
part
就
that
是中
has
间是应该有这个隔
the
阂的就是应该
consciousness
有
has
这样讲可
knowing,
能好
but
一点
the
但是他们好几个建议呢
but
就是
the
都认为是
object
这个
doesn't,
意识
the
呢就是
defiling
如果
object
给这
doesn't
两
have
个
knowing.
合的话呢那就是一
So
个是
one
有
has
知觉的这个
knowing
部
and the
分
other one
一个是
doesn't
没有
have
知觉的
knowing.
部
That
分
is
那
not
可能是我们人
appropriate.
的相续所
That's
所
their
人的相续
explanation.
所
But
做的话呢
according to
跟还是
the
是
Hinayana's
逐渐可以它
tradition
产生那个知觉
point of view,
其实
in fact,
跟
the
它自己的
faculty
本体来
also
讲其实
is
能当中
considered as
就是它是一
inanimate
种
either. It
有
doesn't have
有色法就是但是
the
它是无
capacity
尽法
of
就是应该
knowing,
是这样的
same as
这应该不是
the defiling
不相
object.
信吧对吧那
Faculty,
这样的话
according
呢
to
就是它是
Abhidharma,
如果
it
这
says
个
that
合
the
的话呢
faculty
就是
is
中间是
also
这
an
个逆就是
inanimate
分离的
form.
就是如果是逆的话呢就如果是这两个
So
分离的
if
话
it
呢
is
这两个有这个
connected, if
合
it
合
is
的这个
united,
结果
then there
如果是
is
合合的
still
话
a
呢那
separation
体
in
性
between.
就杂乱
If it
体
is
性为什么杂乱
separated,
呢就是因为一个是
then
尘的这个界
when
一个是这
the
个根
two
的界
connects,
那么就是最后的话呢就是那这个厌世的话呢就是到底是它是
characteristic would be
界的界性呢还是根的这个
disordered
界性的界性呢
and
或者
would
说
be
是这两个
chaotic.
混
The
合一
substance
体
and
呢
the nature
还是
would be
这
chaotic
两个
and
还有
disordered.
有一种
Why
这
is that
个
so? It is
就
because
中间是这
the
个各开的呢
defiling
所以
objects
这样的这种厌
dhatu
世的话呢就是它是
the other
很
one
这
is
个
the dhatu
因为
of the
尘是外在的法
faculty.
就是然后
And
根
then
是就如果内在的
we
话呢
also have
那
another
内外
factor
就是
that is
混
eye
合的就是
consciousness.
这么一个这个
So
结果那
does
这样的
it
话呢
does
就
this
是
eye
可能这个厌
consciousness
世的话呢
uptake
并
the
不是厌
dhatu,
世其实
the
一种
realm
视觉
of the
它也
object or the
既没有
realm
根的
of
这
the
种伪尘
faculty,
就是也没
or
有
mixing
那
the
个
two
什么
together, which is
外境的这个尘
disorderly
的
and
伪尘
chaotic?
所以说呢就是始终是也是不能成立的
So
就是
that
这个
is not
这个解释
appropriate
方法呢
either.
就是大家也应该这样来理解吧
You
就
should
是这样理解
understand it in
时
such a
不
way.
当知言色未圆言深言
Therefore, you
世
should know
界三
that
处度无
as
就是
to
它
the
跟你讲
eyes
三处
and
啊
form
如果我
being
们
the
呢应
conditions
该知
that
道就是
produce the
眼和
realm of
色呢
eye
就是为眼
consciousness,
残
none
色
of
呢
the
就是
three
厌世
places
对吧
exists.
其实这三处的话呢就是都是没有的啊就
These
是从严
three
格的角度来
places
因为刚
is
才他破
not
的时候主要是以
existent.
厌世为主然后直接破厌世然后间接的话呢破眼根
So
和这个
the
外面的
logic
色
goes
尘啊
to
这
first
两个
refute
是
the eye
也
consciousness,
是
and
直接
then
破
through
的
that
所
you
以
would
说
be
呢
able to
这
understand
个
that
眼
there
和
is
色
no
呢就是为缘所
solid
产生的这个厌世
existence
的界呢
of
其
the
实
eye
是三处都
faculty
是这个
nor
不能
of
成立
the
的啊
form.
就是跟这个使女
Thus,
的二
the
字和
eyes
这个
form
回毛
and
普就
the
是
form
完
realm,
全是一样
these
的
three do not
则
have their
厌
origin
与
in
色
causes
即呢
and
就是
conditions,
色
nor
即
do
三
their natures arise spontaneously.
是即三是啊
They're
即三
simply just like the children of
厌和
the
色根本
barren
就是
woman or the heir
是
to
即三
the tortoise and horns to the
即
rabbit.
三是不是就是也是跟前面一样 呀？本分因缘非自然性，它没有这个，是世俗性没有说，是三者虚妄
The
没有说。
three,
前面的，我刚才藏文不知道怎么说的。它按理来讲的话，眼和色，还有呢就是
the three, the eyes, form,
眼神
and
这三者呢，就是本分、
the
因、
eyes,
性、本分、
form,
自然色，
and
而是这个光明这个
eye
如来藏的
consciousness.
这种妙理真心，就是应该这样讲。色还是识呢？
Is it form realm or is it eye consciousness? What does it refer to? I didn't notice I didn't pay close attention to the Tibetan translation earlier.
不是前面有个什么圣洁？
Is it the three places, the three realms?
圣洁，对，可能都是从全是圣洁，然后相界，对，可能是这个意思。对，他这个是没有说，但实际上是可能。
Over here, it doesn't really talk about eye consciousness, because over here, mainly it talks about the three realms. So here is a form realm. Let's stop here today.